What's up, guys? Before we jump into it, just want to let you know that there's a flash 30% off discount with code ESPRESSO over at gfuel.com. With new releases like Sour Faceberry and cans like Sour Blue Chug Rug out, if you're interested, now's as good a time as any to check them out. Links in the description below, but anyways, let's get back to the content at hand. When I woke up today, man, oh man, I did not expect what has just happened to happen. I did not expect to see a ton of information for COD 2020 leak completely out of the blue, but that's what happened. So naturally, we're gonna break down all of this, and there is so much to share about the game and what we found out. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below on the issues and what we could be seeing. And as well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things COD 2020 and all COD content on a daily basis. But anyways, jumping into it, first things first, this information comes directly from my good friend Exclusive Ace, and while we talk about leaks a lot on the channel, sometimes from known leakers, sometimes people who data mine the game, Ace isn't necessarily the leaking type, so that's how I give it my full trust to this information. He's one of the most honest, no-nonsense guys in the creative space, and for him to go out on a line and talk about breaking intel like this, I think it's worth at least hearing out. But it should be noted that right now, as it stands, all of this is just rumors. It isn't anything that is confirmed in any way, shape, or form. Not until we see any sort of official marketing from Call of Duty will we have any real idea here on this, but for the time being, take it with a grain of salt, but do hear it out. And it is something I think is really interesting and definitely worth hearing out, at least that. So his source, whoever it may be, seems to be on the playtesting and perhaps QA side of things, so we're dealing with information that's likely accurate and close to the chest information, but could be subject to change because it is development, and especially on a playtesting and a QA side, you throw out some stuff that may not make it into the final build of the game. But either way, it's a lot to digest. So let's start out with some bombshells, perhaps. The one out of his information that absolutely floors me is the fact that it was initially planned for an end of Q3 release, which means right around the September timeframe that we could have expected to see COD 2020 release, making it the earliest release date ever. But seemingly with everything going on with the world right now, it's been now anticipated for an early Q4, which is still your October, November, right on schedule for our normal timetable for Call of Duty. But that makes it even stranger, the fact that we haven't seen anything yet in terms of official marketing. That being the fact that we are coming up on just about 3 months out from October. That's kind of crazy to consider. Now, it's also seemingly entirely confirmed based off the information that Ace got and the footage that he saw that it is Cold War era, which is personally, I think, fine for me, especially if they're going the route of the reboots. The name itself isn't necessarily known, whether it's Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Call of Duty Black Ops as a soft reboot, whatever they decide to name it, that's something that he doesn't have the information yet, but it seems to be taking place in that Cold War. Then coming along with that, we'll probably have the biggest content offering to date yet in Call of Duty, because out of the information he gathered and what his source told him, the game is set to have traditional MP, campaign, zombies, and Warzone. So continuing on kind of what we have here for Modern Warfare post-March, where you had 4 main modes, though Spec Ops has kind of been abandoned here with this, but seemingly 4 main modes, 3 of which are carried on into the future with continuing content, and that is something that is awesome. Let's talk about some other big selling points here with this. Firstly, the fact that the minimap is seemingly standard. It's back to its regular pre-Black Ops 4 minimap. That means no fog of war. That means you shoot and show up on the radar, unlike how you are in traditional 6v6 MP for Modern Warfare. That was the big fuss with multiplayer at the beginning of the year in the beta, all that time, with the fundamental differences between the minimap now as to what it was before. And it also seems like the compass will be returning in addition to that standard minimap. So from Modern Warfare, that compass up at the top, that's going to be something that returns as an additional feature that we don't normally see in Treyarch titles. Additionally, there's not going to be any mounting. Sliding and swimming will be returning. No dolphin diving like we've seen in previous Treyarch games. No tactical sprint. There are no doors, save for in Warzone, which we'll detail Warzone a little bit later on in the video, a lot more in depth, because I'm excited to jump into that avenue of discussion, because there's a lot with that too. But no dead silence. Health is currently 150 with auto healing, so unlike Black Ops 4, kind of a hybrid system between what we've seen in the past, but also Black Ops 4's 150 system. And also with that, you can see your health bar like you could within Black Ops 4, which from a testing perspective and trying to get actual data is honestly one of my favorite things that Black Ops 4 had on offer. And then for multiplayer overall, it's 6v6, not 5v5 like it was in Black Ops 4. There also seems to be no 2v2 modes, though apparently a 3v3 mode was playtested, and there is no current plans for a full-fledged ground war 32v32 system but a sort of Warzone Rumble style game mode where you play on different parts of the Warzone map in a larger player count is something that's been thrown out there also. So whether or not it is actually like that Warzone Rumble where it's kind of, at least in my mind, kind of a throwaway game mode, if it's like that or if it has some sort of structure that makes it unique and makes it something incentivizing for players to jump into, we don't exactly know, but that's something that was thrown out there. Jumping over to some more MP stuff, there were 10 maps mentioned, only 9 were listed in Ace's video, so not entirely sure what that means for the launch content. I'd imagine though there's still more being worked on, so I can't see 10 being that launch number, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. Weaponry, not really all that much was mentioned. There really wasn't anything that was a full list of any kind, but we saw there was an AK and a Spaz 12. The Spaz 12 being a secondary, which is interesting in and of itself, returning back to a more classic placement of shotguns in the COD franchise. Another thing that leaked was the rumor that we have score streaks coming back, which is not kill streaks. So play the freaking objective, play for your team, here help you win, get rewarded for that. I think that's great that we're going back to that, incentivizing the overall team play, and of course just something that has worked well, at least in my opinion, in the past. One thing also that I'm hoping for, but we have no information on, is lappable streaks. I think one of the reasons why I kind of strayed away from traditional MP this year, I know you guys have said, why do you only play Ground War? Why do you only play Warzone? There's a bunch of reasons with that, where I definitely will go back and play traditional MP, but one of the big things that I didn't like was the fact that you can't lap your streaks. So if you get one UAV, that's it for your entire life. So if you go streaking, yeah, you can get an advanced UAV, but you get that around, what, 10, 11, 12 kills, I forget off the top of my head, but it is something that then lasts you the rest of your life. So maybe you can go on a nuke streak, but if you get that at 10 kills, you got to kind of time it so that, yeah, I could probably get 6, 7 more kills out of there with the immediate reaction of knowing where everybody is, but I also could pop it a little too early and then therefore be left on a 20 to 30 streak and not have anything to work with unless I get lucky where one of my teammates pops a UAV or an advanced UAV. But those are a little less likely. So hopefully lappable streaks come back, but we end up seeing out of the list 16 score streaks that were in here. Nothing really too crazy or out there. A lot of the stuff that fits the era, but stuff you can look forward to no less. Then coming back to it again, no specialist will be returning within COD 2020. And that's kind of a big curveball because obviously Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, a big part of the game, a big part of the story, were specialists. While there are no specialists, it does seem like the field upgrades will be making return in some regard, to which Ace saw from his source a portable SAM turret and a munitions box. So those will be something that you can play alongside in-game, and they just sort of go up almost like a specialist meter, but it's not. It'll work like how it does in Modern Warfare, seemingly. As for Create a Class, it seems like it's a hybrid between the classics of, say, COD 4, where it's a lot more structured and not a lot of variability, but also with Pick 10. Doesn't seem like there's any Gunsmith, which is interesting. I personally really enjoyed Gunsmith, minus the fact that we had blueprint camos. I would have much rather had camos that you could apply on every single weapon. But the amount of variance, the amount of customization you could have within the Gunsmith, I actually really enjoyed this year. But for Create a Class, when building your loadout, you'll be able to select a primary, secondary, your perks, your equipment, and your field upgrade, with wildcards also being available. It seems like because you have that hybrid between the Pick 10 system, you do have a set number of attachments, to which that may be where the wildcards come in. And as for equipment, it only seems like you can take one piece of equipment with what seems like no refilling available. It doesn't refill over time and during life like it was in Black Ops 4, so whether or not you can refill this stuff with your scavenger packs, assuming that's a perk, we don't exactly know, but it seemingly is your equipment all in one, so your lethals and tacticals are in one category, and that's what you can take one of. So you won't be able to have that combo of taking both. There also seemingly is no evidence of a prestige system jumping outside of Create a Class, but that's something that, if this is from, again, a play-tested build, that stuff isn't really normally on the front lines of playtesting stuff. That is something that's normally added towards the later portions of development and is something that could be amended or changed relatively quickly as opposed to the fundamental basic building blocks of the game. Next, I want to talk about Warzone because that's probably one of the things with the largest implications for what we can see coming in the future, but we don't really know of how they're going to continue planning and maintaining the game over time. So for Warzone, it seems like we're going to get a new map. And it seems like in in Warzone, this is the only place you'll see any doors within the game. And of the assets detailed, there were only 10 locations on the map that was an overview that was able to be seen. And interestingly, nothing was really anything you'd immediately recognize, say, from Blackout or something like that. How you had iconic locations returning. Doesn't seem like any of these, at least by the names, point to anything classic returning. As for sizing, while not confirmed, I'd imagine it to be relatively the same size as Blackout, which is also slightly larger than the Warzone map, simply because this overview utilized the same compass system and grid dimensions as what the Blackout map used. Maybe that's just an early placeholder, but something that could be interesting no less to give us a little bit of an idea as to what to expect. Zombies had no information here given, but campaign, it was basically just about done. They said that it was playable through the entire way, but just some minor polishing needed done on some stuff, like there was text to speech instead of actual voiceover lines, which that stuff is recorded a little bit later on down the line. So that kind of makes a little bit more sense here with that. But everything else seems to be all in place. It seems like everything is ready to go and is looking like in good shape, which is great because I know there's a lot of speculation given the fact that we haven't heard anything yet, but it just seems like the marketing may be a little bit different this year. But anyways, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Again, check out Ace's stuff, absolutely fantastic creator, but I'm excited to see what may come of this and what we may be seeing hopefully very soon on the near future for COD 2020. But anyways, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button if you guys want to see to do all things Modern Warfare and COD 2020 content. And of course, if you also want to follow over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.